Hi everyone. I have been looking forward to this journal specifically for over a year. Betty Calkins did one and I absolutely loved it, and I thought, you know what, I can make one. And so it's a hobo journal. I have a bedroll on the front. I have a watch that was my father's. I did make a band for it out of paper, and I painted it and did all kind of things to it. And then we have the little knapsack thing, I don't know what you call that thing, with the stick. And behind the picture behind is riding the rails. So this is all trying to be about the time period of 1930. I did make some railroad tracks be authentic looking on the spine. And then the back is just this same material, the red. But let's get in it because this is a pretty one. I have images from hobos. They're taking a bath here. And I have up here, I decided to do this way instead of holding it, and I'm probably be sorry I did. Anyway, there's like a little number thing, probably would have been on a key of some sort. They had a hobo news, so a few images of that. Then I had a few images. This was like a phone book for trains is what it was. So these are real vintage. This was a slate that had prices of things on it. Everything was like a penny. I did make cans for the tabs, and I have lots of little charms on here. So over here, this is what they call the jungle. This is where they lived, you know, when they were trying to, there's a picture image of them on top of the trains. So the jungle is where they hung out in between times. I did make these three here so I could flip them over and write on the back. And other than that, they're just images of hobos hanging out at their jungle with their camp. I did a little collage here on the back of that. I had some old images, a train book that had some stuff in it. This here is a deposit or a check, an old type check thing that would have been back in that day, where, you know, they have the, you know, where they put it through vintage like. The railroad, that was a digital kit. This is also a digital kit. Spam, I don't know if they had that far back looking like that can, but I tried to find an old one. This is spikes, so the other side is on spikes. I have lots of railroad, railroad tracks in there. Clearance form, they had clearance forms that, you know, had the trains had to get clearance for. So a little scrap of material here. This is the train routes back in the 30s. Here's some hobos. Inside here, it comes off and it's duplicated on both sides, so I won't take it off. But a sardine can. They had their own language. They would leave these signs on, you know, signposts and stuff where people lived to kind of give an idea of, you know, if you should go there or shouldn't, and if you could get a handout. This is from an actual hobo's boots that's in some kind of a museum. They might have had a pocket watch. This one was broken. This is a clearance form again as well. There's a hobo here and another train here. I actually think that's the same train. And there's your spikes back here behind. I'm going to do this one-handed, see if I can drop everything out of here. Another can, and on the can I put a boot that was given to me by Connie Joyce. Thank you, Connie. This here is actually a picture image of one of my relatives that we don't know who he is. And it is a real picture. And then back here we have an envelope out of some old vintage paper. Has the story of trains, and inside is some more hobo language stuff there. We have a train there, and then there's the other part of that check that has been cashed. There's a train here. I did another scrap cluster there. I did take a big can and I made it kind of into a garbage can looking, so I do have some actual trash hanging, oops, there, outside, so there's a little bit of a glare. Some trash hanging out. Now this is a hobo and he has some alcohol, whiskey in his hand. So I tried to make this bag look like it was a, you know, an actual, hang on, sorry. So we have inside that, we have the alcohol as a card, and then I also made an outer sack as well for that. And then that opens up as a writing spot. I did do some rusting on some of this. Here's a hobo that is riding the rails. Inside is a belly band, and this has the hobo language in here as well. And it flips open and has it on both sides. This is the slate board that shows that what they had to eat that day available at the menu. Again, there's some railroad stuff. Here's different hobos riding the rails. Hope I'm not too bumpy for you guys, but I just decided it might be better that way I could come in and out. There they are, their jungle. This guy's hopping the train. There they are taking their bath, and now I'm into the second signature. They might have got some work like this down in the ditches, you know, trying to do stuff. Reminisce magazine, actually, I tore some of these articles out of there. They would have slept maybe with some newspaper, so I made a little newspaper pile. And I believe this is a Norman Rockwell here. This is an old can opener and a can, and I put that on the tracks. Here I have riding the rails, and this guy's riding the rails. And inside, he's trying to catch a ride and get a hand up on the rail. Everything is, oh, and then that says boxcar there. So I tried to get everything as vintage and authentic looking. A cigar that would have been hand wrapped with tobacco leaves. This back here is a vintage wage time card, actually, that they would have had for a train. Part of a train. You can see the grass down here, and this is the train rolling along. There's an image there. Oops, I have some old buttons that might have been on a coat on that part. And then he's walking on the top of the train, actually. They had a magazine called Hobo Press, so I put that there. There's a railroad track, and I used the Tim Holtz thing. I put some black paint on this, and then I put some distress ink on it. Kind of looks like a little part of an engine there. Here they are they're just waiting on the train, shooting the bull. And down here I have a charm that is a campfire. There we got it. A railroad crossing over here with a vintage train and a spike. And then this is just a receipt. This here, it says 1896 and 1890. I should have put those in order, but I put it in color order. But anyway, in the 1800s, they had evidently these cards that you had to, if you rode the train, maybe it was the people on the train. It looks like to me it's somebody that's a rider of the train. But so I did put some of that stuff in there too. Here's a family waiting on the train. I did put a vintage key on that. This was actually part of stamps that they just recently had out. A tuna can, a vintage can, drinking cup. I gotta hurry up, guys. This flips up. I'm not gonna take it up. I used some of the Tim Holtz type chips, and I did a little ripple on this. It's on a piece of cardboard, and there is one of those stamps from that transcontinental thing, mail stamps. And then a couple trains on an uptuck. Now I got a bug bothering me. I'm outside. Sorry. Trains are coming, so they probably would have sat around the campfire and had some music. Here is a hobo exposed, how to be a hobo. Now in this, I hand wrote this. This is some of the rules of things that they would have, should have done, do not allow or ever, oh well, that was a bad one to pick, huh? Kind of telling you the law. And then it has a hobo code in here, and then it has hobo language in there, different things. So I made that. This is how we roll. I've used one of the Tim Holtz dolls, paper dolls, newspaper, vintage paper, Reminisce magazine. Here's a train that I put in this inside, and the story of invention, telling about how trains were invented. This is the jungle again. And free ticket, not good for anything, just free. And there's a hobo here, and then there's another one of those writing card things, magazine. On the outside of this one, I do have a lantern, and there they are at camp. Here they are at another camp. This is like a little fold out, and then over here on the back is jobless men. There we go, almost to the end here. Another old tin cup. Hobo dinner. This is a Girl Scout recipe I actually had, and then I put it with Norman Rockwell. And this is an old business card, Midway Station and Cafe. This is kind of from the town that I lived near, just moved from. And then there's some more hobo boots up here, which is really cool. More of the same stuff. This is an article. It actually goes like this. Let's see if I can, but there's a guy. Can't hardly tell it very well. On this one, I have a teapot on that tin can. And this is a guy at camp. He's got his suit hanging up here. I inked and sewed. It took me 4 days to make this journal. I actually cut, and then I inked one day. I sewed one day. There's an old container for whiskey or whatever, and okay, it skipped me. Musical instrument. Harmonica, that's it. I did this little puzzle thing here because it's about trains. Track down these trains. So I made that. It has rusted paper clips. I rusted fabric bits, and just, I rusted it all. So it took me a day to sew it, put it to cut, probably a day to cut, a day to, This has a little ticket in it. It's a little fold out. It has a little teeny ticket in it. That's a train leaving the station there. There's the guys. Sorry, I'm moving this around. I will have pictures in my JJ with Joy on Facebook, a tent. And this is kind of a, well, let's go over here first because it's easier. So there's railroad crossing signs. This is a notice of an arrival, which was a vintage thing. A lot of Alicia's stuff came from her shop in this. Now this here has train speed tables. It has a ticket. It has a hobo riding the rails. In here it has a railway system thing, and then up here it'd been about the time that they had rations, so I made a rations book, and then I just did a tuck 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 little spot there, and then we're to the end. I put some blue jeans. I actually ripped underneath this and sewed around it, and then I have some, these are actually they were making mulligan stew inside this hotel that was back there. So I have that, and then this is a story about mulligan stew and how it came about. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Give me a like, a subscribe if you would, and I would love to have a little ring-a-ding on the bell if you would. Anyway, thanks for joining me.